Although winners have been decided, the Aprilia Challenge is as competitive as ever as riders take on the international circuit. This is the Aprilia Challenge at Donington Park.
Yes, hello and welcome. Thundersport GB's final round of the 2013 season here. The final round for the Super Teens and the Aprilia 450s here at the Donington Park GP circuit. The second time we've visited Donington, but the first that we've gone around this wonderful GP circuit here. Zach Corduroy already crowned a champion. There he is, number 22. He is looking forward to a season of 450s next year, but second and third still up for grabs. But the big news is that number 97 Bradley Peary is not here. Number 95 Ross Simpson has got himself injured yesterday, so there is a chance, depending on results, that Charlie Nesbitt, the Nitro newcomer champion for 2013, number 86, could go from fourth to second in the championship. Second on the grid there, 101, Curtis Drew, back to his best form. Charlie Nesbitt, I just mentioned him a little while ago, the newcomer on the left of your picture on the front row, number 86. But keep your eyes peeled for another newcomer. It's the first ever round for Rory Skinner, number 11, young Scottish rider from Perth. He is pretty good. There he is on the outside right of your picture as they head down into Redgate for the first time. But it's a good start for Curtis Drew. Curtis, a rider that started the season so well at Brands Hatch. Went through a sticky patch midway through the season, but very much back to his best form now. Curtis, fifth in the championship. Not really got a chance of catching Charlie out front, but he has got a chance of taking a race win. All of the riders out there have gone for wet tyres, believe it or not. There's quite a few damp and wet patches around the circuit. It was declared a wet race, which means tyre option is completely up to the riders and dads and mums out there. And as the riders make their way around McLean's corner and up towards Coppice here, that leads them onto the back straight, it is Curtis Drew and Charlie Nesbitt that are first and second. Remarkably, Charlie Nesbitt not had a race win all season. It is astonishing to think that when he has been ever present at the sharp end at every single round. Now in third place, that is Rory Skinner, number 11. Now, despite the fact that he is a Nitro newcomer and he's going around the outside of Charlie Nesbitt, or having a look anyway, it's not his first time on a motorcycle. Oh no, he's 7 times British champion in mini moto and metric kit, and in fact one of his old rivals is Charlie Nesbitt, number 86. The pair of them used to race against each other back in the day, but let's see what Rory Skinner's got. It's at the moment number 101 Curtis Drew that leads from Charlie Nesbitt, number 86. You'll see Zach Corduroy, the champion of 2013, just in the background with the yellow and black leathers on, number 22. But as they come across the line here to complete the first lap of the Donington GP circuit, it's Curtis Drew that has the lead ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. Nesbitt needs a second and a first place here today to take second place in the championship. If he finishes on the podium both times, he will move up to third, because of course Bradley Peary is not here. Down through Craner Curves, one of the greatest parts of any circuit in the world. It is Drew that leads, 101. Number 86 is Charlie Nesbitt. Number 11 is Rory Skinner, the 12-year-old from Perth. Last year in the Scottish Championship, he was given special dispensation in the 125 Championship to race on an 80cc machine, and he won 30 out of 34 races. That is what we're dealing with here. He's hoping, provided they can get the sponsorship, to attend every round of the Aprilia Super Teens next year. So no prizes for guessing who the new pre-season favourite is when we get to 2014. As they come down the back straight, it was 3 abreast, and Curtis Drew, 101, has lost the lead. And there is Skinner. He's gone up into the lead. He's skinned them. We'll be saying that a lot next year, won't we? It's Charlie Nesbitt in third, desperate, of course, as I mentioned, for that first race win, but Skinner has the advantage. I should just point out that although Roy Skinner has got racing experience, he's never been on an Aprilia Super Team machine before this weekend, and he's never seen the Donington Park GP layout before the start of this weekend. So amazing stuff as they head around the final turn and onto the start-finish straight. It is 11 Skinner leads from Curtis Drew and Charlie Nesbitt in fourth place. In the background there, number 19 is our young Irish rider Aaron Clifford, and then it's 22 Zach Corduroy. Now all of these riders have opted for the wet tyres. You can see, those of you watching from home, that the circuit is dry in a lot of places, so it's going to be about tyre management. Some of these bikes will be moving around despite the fact that they've not got a lot of power, and that's a good solid move down into Craner curves from Charlie Nesbitt there. Skinner leads from Charlie Nesbitt, but Skinner is on borrowed machinery this weekend just to sort of prove what he can do. It's borrowed from in competition, of course, Ian and Myra Newton, and he's certainly proving himself to be something pretty special here as they head up. And Zach Corduroy there, the yellow and black leathers, this is his final ever race, or final races should I say, on the Aprilia for this season. He moves on to the 450 for next year, and he'll be disappointed that he's not able to fight with these guys at the front. A good battle going on here. 11 Skinner leads, number 86 in second is Nesbitt, so the two 12-year-olds are first and second, and then it's a 16-year-old in third, Curtis Drew, 101. Curtis, who won a race earlier in the season. We now go down into the Melbourne Loop, the perfect overtaking opportunity. Skinner it is that still leads though, as they head up towards Goddard's, the final left-hander here. Another good overtaking opportunity, but it's gone wrong for so many people over the years. If you just think back to a certain World Superbike incident that happened there just a couple of years ago, a tear-off being pulled away there from Curtis Drew. In the background there, fourth and fifth, that is number 19 Aaron Clifford, number 22 the champion Zach Corduroy, and then Jordan Boyle, who's looked good this weekend, number 37 Jordan Boyle, who's still fighting it out with Edmund Best for second and third in the Nitro Newcomer Championship. Daniel Drayton can still feature in that as well. Daniel Drayton, number 34 at the moment, just outside the top 10. But if he can finish both races today, he'll be one of the few riders over the last few years that's actually managed to finish every single race in their first season of racing. Edmund Best is currently behind Jordan Boyle on circuit, but some 6-7 seconds down. So at the moment, Jordan Boyle is in a good place to take second in the Newcomer Championship. Should just quickly mention as well, a very happy birthday to a rider that's in 8th place and 5th overall in the Newcomers. Half English, half Italian rider, Tristan Finocchiaro, number 58, turns 15 here today. So very happy birthday to you, Tristan. Joe Thompson, currently in 9th, ahead of Cameron Tenzing-Jenkins and Thomas Burnett. A couple of other bikes we may spot throughout the day here, just to keep an eye out for, but don't look too much into it, are of course our 250s, the Shinarays. They are here for testing and development for Thundersport GB, and two familiar faces on board as well. Connor Tagg, a former Super Teen rider who actually got himself on the podium here at Donington Park back in 08 in the Aprilia Super Teens, when it was a MotoGP support round. And Rob Ellesmere, yes, Rob is back, and they are both testing the Shinneray, and well, we may see a few glimpses of that again in 2014. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, we're getting to the business end of this race now, and Charlie Nesbitt, who is looking for that first and elusive race victory, currently in prime position to take it. He has the lead. Further back, that is, number 27, Georgina Polden. And she's gone wide there at Melbourne Loop, and oh dear, do you know what, that was a really nasty landing on her left leg, on her left knee. Now, she plays a bit of football. I know that she's carrying an injury, but she looks a bit hurt there. That she really did go down with a thump. I hope she's okay. Georgina was running well. She was up inside the top 10, as she goes around the Melbourne Loop. The marshals there doing a good job just to usher the riders back onto the racing line. I do hope she's okay. Georgina, who's been very, very promising this season in her first season of riding, but at the moment, at the front, it is still Charlie Nesbitt ahead of Rory Skinner. They've broken away from Curtis Drew, who's now further back. You can see Curtis just in the background, so it looks like it's going to be a fight now just between Nesbitt and Skinner has got some decent speed heading into the Foggy S's here. He's got to get on the power and try and line himself up for a move down into the Melbourne Loop. It's not going to work around the outside there, Rory. These two familiar with each other, apparently fierce rivals back in the Metrokit and the Minimoto days. But it is still Nesbitt that has the advantage. Oh, how he would dearly love to take a victory here as they exit the final turn, make their way onto the start-finish straight. The last lap flag is out, so this is it. Charlie Nesbitt is a lap away from winning his first race. Charlie, who's been in this championship all year long, he is the Nitro Newcomer champion. There is Georgina. Nice to see she's up and she's walking away. One of the marshals there, Richard Espin, just making sure she's okay. So yeah, she'll be back out for race 2 hopefully. But this is the battle for the lead. Charlie Nesbitt looking for that first win, been in the championship all season. Rory Skinner in his first weekend on borrowed machinery, looking to get his first ever race victory. We had a couple of races here yesterday. He got himself impressively on the podium, but this would be something else. Is he lining up a move somewhere? He's got some decent speed as they go around Schwantz Curve and up into McLean's. Then it's uphill, blind entry into Coppice, and Nesbitt just taking a slightly tighter line there as they tip into Coppice. Now it's all about getting on the power on the back straight. You can see Skinner there, tucked up right behind the screen, pulling out of the slipstream, and they're going to be almost side by side. In fact, they are down the back straight and down into the Foggy S's. Skinner has the advantage. He's gone around the outside of Charlie Nesbitt, and he now leads. Nesbitt has got to find a way past him as they go down into the Melbourne Loop, and they're side by side here. They're both battling for their first ever Aprilia Super Teen wins. Nesbitt desperate to go up the inside, but Skinner is also late on the brakes. That's confirmation again of the last lap flag, but the checkered flag is being made ready, and we're looking and waiting for the leaders to come around. It is Skinner that has it from Nesbitt. What can Nesbitt do into the final turn? Skinner so late on the brakes. Oh, Nesbitt's trying to find a gap, but it's not there, and they're going to come around, and it's going to be Rory Skinner. Remember the name. It's his first weekend. It's his first win. Oh, commiserations to Charlie Nesbitt. He's going to have to wait another one to get a win. And that is really, really unfortunate for Charlie, although if he gets a win in the second race, he will take second in the championship. But what about it here? Number 11, Rory Skinner taking the win here at Donington Park ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. A good third place there for Curtis Drew. He'll look to try and keep with the leaders in the second one. Zach Corduroy, the champion, fourth ahead of Jordan Boyle, Ed Best, Aaron Clifford, Tristan Finocchiaro, the birthday boy, Joe Thompson, and in 10th place, Cameron Tenzing Jenkins. There they are on the podium then. It is Rory Skinner, centre of the picture, the race winner.
Third position in the Nitro Newcomers, Jordan Boyle. A really good race for you. You were chasing the leading pack. A good result for you?
Yeah, it was a really good race. Got into a good race with Zach, and yeah, it was just really good.
Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
I thank Artel, my dad, Paul, my mum, my brother, Fun Sport, Dunlop, Ian.
And now let's catch up with the top 3 overall, starting off with third place Curtis Drew.
And third position overall goes to Curtis Drew. Curtis, another good race for you. You were leading going into the first corner. A good start. How was the race for you?
It was difficult, really. I mean, everybody chose to go on wet tyres because we thought the track was still wet, and it actually just dried out. So it was just difficult to keep it upright, really, the whole bike, and started to tuck the front and lose it. But I mean, luckily we brought it home in third, so that was all right.
A change of plan for the next race, do you think?
Yeah, definitely dry tyres as long as it doesn't rain, but who knows, English weather. And yeah, let's just hope we can push a bit further forward.
Brilliant. Any sponsors to thank?
I'd like to thank Sean Rastelli at Prestige Paintwork, Julian Howard at Minimoto Racing, Andrew at Jesse's Bistro, and Karen Humphries at Beam Electrical.
Second position overall and in the Nitro newcomers, Charlie Nesbitt. Charlie, a brilliant race for you, battling with Rory. How was it for you? You were so close to getting your first win. Maybe next time?
Yeah, definitely next time. It's just got to get the right conditions and the right tyres to start off with. So yeah, and I'd just like to say, Shane Moss ain't here. Would have been a better battle with him.
Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my sponsors, my mum, my dad, all friends, family. So yeah, thanks.
First position in the Nitro newcomers and overall, Rory, we've not seen you here before at Thundersport, your first round. How was it for you? Can you tell us a bit about your journey, where you've been before?
Well, I've been racing in the Fab Racing Championship on metricates for the last few years, and I've been riding up in Scotland on an 80 this year. So came down here and had a really good race with Spud, and really good, yeah.
You just come and stormed in and took the win. Will we see you here next year?
We'll see if we need sponsorship to come down because we live in Scotland. So.
Well, what sponsors have you got to thank so far?
I'd like to thank Ian Newton for lending me the bike, Steve Hammond, my dad, Bill and Phil, and everyone who's helped me up in Scotland this year.
No sponsorship. Get your money out, folks. Join us again after the break for the Aprilia RRV 450s. Welcome back to Donington Park. It's the GP circuit we're running at here, and it's time for the Aprilia RRV 450 GPs. Just like the Super Teens, champion already crowned, but hopefully some fascinating racing here. Louis Dawson, number 34. What a great end to the season for Louis so far. Number 34 there. He's looking to contest this championship next year and will be one of the riders to look out for. There's no doubt about that. There's number 9, Ben Luxton. Another rider who's going to be in the 450s next year, and another rider worth keeping an eye on in terms of the 2014 championship. And there is the champion of 2013, David Allingham, the Irishman. What a season it's been for him on the Beemore Aprilia. He's finished every single race. More often than not, he's been on the podium, and when he's been on the podium, he usually wins. He's not had a DNF all season long. Here we are at the final round. He's taken 2 out of 2 yesterday already. A few riders fell in qualifying, so we're missing a couple of key figures that you may have seen throughout the season, but there's still second and third to wrap up here between number 15, Ross Twyman, and number 9, Ben Luxton. Ben, who has had an absolutely stunning second half to this season, but it is the same old face at the front. David Allingham, number 11. He has just done everything perfectly this season when he's been embroiled in decent battles towards the front. He doesn't let himself fall back to 4th or 5th place. He's always up there in 1st or 2nd, and he's very, very difficult to pass. He executes his races perfectly. He has good tactics, and here he is looking to end the season on a high. Further back we have a few new faces just to quickly mention, as well as our injured riders, but there is no Harry Coomber out there this weekend, unfortunately, but number 88, Lucas Backstrom, is out there. No prizes for guessing where Lucas is from, of course. He's come over from Sweden, and he's actually doing very well. First time at the circuit, first time on a 450, and he's been up and around the top 10 so far. And nice to see Sam Wilford and Ryan McAdam out there as usual. They've been riding well. Massive improvements coming from number 48, Reece Hutchinson. Really has eaten his Weetabix this weekend. He's been up in the top 5 or 6. But as it stands, Allingham leads from Ben Luxton. And then there's a good fight for 3rd place between Will Hodgson, Ross Twyman, Louis Dawson. At the moment, Dawson has got it, number 34. And there, just pulling out of the slipstream, is Reece Hutchinson, number 48. What an improvement from Reece. Just sometimes, you know, it takes one race or a couple of races to click into gear, and when you realise that you're able to stay up with the leaders, that's it, you never look back. And that's certainly what happened to David Allingham and Ben Luxton as they try and clear off out at the front. And David Allingham here at the Donington Park GP circuit. Last time we visited Donington was round 2. It was the national circuit, and Ross Twyman took every single race win in the Aprilia 450s. But then a couple of mid-season blips, and he's here trying desperately now to secure second place in the championship. If the truth be known, he only needs to really finish this race here today and he will be guaranteed second, but he would have liked to have got on with it. A quick mention also to Bradley Jones. Such a shame. Bradley, the rider with really no luck at all. He's unfortunately something mechanical went wrong on Friday and they've just not been able to get the parts together to get themselves out there racing. Hopefully we'll see Bradley out again at some point next season, but it's a shame because he is one of those riders that can always fight at the front of any race. This is the battle for third place. Ross Twyman leading it at the moment, number 15, ahead of Louis Dawson, 34, and number 48, Rhys Hutchinson. But it's David Allingham, the champion, that leads. Here he is, number 11, across the line, ahead of Ben Luxton, who is keeping him honest, I've got to say. The lap record yesterday was taken by David Allingham. Previously, it belonged to Sam Cox, so 142.280. But it was broken by David yesterday. Still no news exactly what David's up to next season, but it's looking very likely that he'll be on board a 600 of some sort. Of course, he is a 3 times Thundersport champion. You'll be able to see him take part in his last two, well, in one of his, at least, his JHS Racing Super Twin races here on Motors TV in the Thundersport Plus show in the next couple of weeks. So keep your eyes out for that one. But this is the fight for third still. Twyman, Dawson, number 34 there, and number 48, Rhys Hutchinson. Don't think we've seen Rhys up in the top 5 so far this year, so this would be a really good finish for him. Alex Baker's also up in the top 8, George Stanley, Will Hodgson, and then it's Lucas Backstrom up ahead of Dean Court, Wilford, McAdam, Wheeler and Cameron Lee. Sorry, Cameron Lee's up a bit further than that. He's up into 11th or 12th at the moment. Riders exit the Foggy S's down towards the Melbourne Loop. Leader's already through. This is the fight for third. Ross Twyman at the moment has it, number 15. Another rider that is expected to move on to a 600 Superstock machine for 2014. And up into Goddard, down onto the start-finish straight. Ben Luxton really is biting at David Allingham, and in fact, is he going to move through here into Redgate? He showed his front wheel to David, but David says no you don't. In fact, that was the fastest lap of the race from Ben Luxton, and that's a lap record of 41.947. That is the lap record to Ben Luxton. Great time, and so he's taken that one away from Allingham and is just following his every move as they go through Craner Curves, the old hairpin, and now under Starkey's Bridge. There's the old spark plug on the right, around Schwantz Curve, and then up here towards McLean's. Beautiful circuit this, Donington Park, the GP circuit. Great for overtaking, nice and flowing. Has to be a part of every single racing calendar as they head onto the back straight, exiting Coppice under the invisible Dunlop Bridge. That's where the Dunlop Bridge used to be. Now into the Foggy S's, slightly redeveloped Foggy S's over the last couple of years. I wouldn't say it's been made easier, but it's more smoother, it's quicker. It's just lends itself to better racing altogether. David Allingham's still leading here. Ben Luxton, though, you can see, looks quicker midway through the corners, but he just cannot get past him. Allingham is late on the brakes as they go into the final turn here. These two guys have just pulled 10 seconds on the chasing pack as they make their way onto the start-finish straight to complete another lap. Still in third, the battle goes on between Ross Twyman, Louis Dawson and co, and it's now Louis Dawson that's back up into third place, and what was a 3-way fight for third looks like it might be soon a 5-way fight, because that's Dawson 34, 15 is Ross Twyman. Nice move from Ross there on the brakes. That was a bit hairy and he might just run a bit wide. Can he hold on to it? Just. Twyman then moves up into third ahead of Louis Dawson. In fourth place there is still Rhys Hutchinson. No, it's Alex Baker who's got himself up to fourth. Rhys Hutchinson down to fifth, and that's George Stanley, number 5, who's joining the party as well. So all of these riders fighting it out for a podium, and a couple of them have never found the podium in 2013. So there's a good chance for them, and they will be sniffing that one out. None of them, however, can keep up with Allingham and Luxton out front. In fact, they're lapping around about a second and a half down a lap at the moment from Allingham and Luxton, who are fighting it out for the win. Down into the foggy S's, they're 3 or 4 abreast. It's going to be Twyman that has it this time around, ahead of Louis Dawson, then Baker and Reece Hutchinson. George Stanley is allowed to just close in on the crew pads. A good move there from Alex Baker. He just shoved his nose up the inside of Dawson as they break down into the Melbourne Loop. And I think what's great about this class is that they are good friends off circuit, and the moves are, well, I was about to say they are all clean. That was clean. It was a bit close, but that was a clean move. There's a lot of respect being shown here between these riders, and there has been all the way through the 2013 season. As the riders now head down into Redgate Corner. Ross Twyman still in third. Number 34 there in fourth place. Louis Dawson ahead of 22, Alex Baker. But it's Allingham that leads from Ben Luxton. Ben, who, well, he would need Ross Twyman not to finish here, and he would need to win the race to have any chance of getting second place in the championship. I will say, though, that thanks to Bradley Jones not being here, which is a shame because of his bike going pop. I mean, he is here, but he's on pit wall. Ben Luxton is at least secured third in the championship, so a bitter blow for Bradley, who could have gone on to finish third in the championship, or at least put up a fight for it. Really lovely lad is Bradley Jones, but just hasn't been able to find any luck of any sort over the last couple of years. This fight here is for third place. Alex Baker there just got nudged out wide a bit. Luckily for him, he was able to tip in. There was enough tarmac there for him to sneak around in fourth or fifth place. But at the front, it's Allingham still from Luxton, the champion from Luxton. There is a number 15, Ross Twyman. The checkered flag is out. David Allingham is going to take the win here, despite the fact that Luxton was all over him throughout the race. In third place, it's going to be, well, we don't know yet. We're going to wait for them. But if Ross Twyman finishes, as Luxton looks around, yeah, Luxton's just making sure that Twyman finishes, because if he didn't, Luxton still had a chance of taking second in the championship. I can confirm that Twyman has finished in third overall. That rounds it up then, so Twyman has secured second in the championship. Luxton has secured third. Louis Dawson finishes fourth in the race ahead of Reece Hutchinson, Alex Baker, George Stanley. Will Hodgson in eighth. A newcomer and Swedish rider Lucas Backstrom in ninth ahead of Dean Court in 10th place. There they are then. Let's catch up with the top three. The champion, David Allingham, wins.
The third position goes to Ross Twyman. Ross, a really good race for you there. Could you see Ben and Dave up ahead of you? You're really trying to push to get close to them.
Yeah, it was a tough race, but I could see them, but I just couldn't quite bridge that because they pulled that lead on the first couple of laps. But no, I can't catch them at the moment. But no, it was a good battle between me and Louis. But I was just happy and got a podium and see what happens in the next race if I can catch them.
A really good result. Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Brinkman Engineering. They're here this weekend, and Agri, Jim Brazier, and Wellvent, and my dad, obviously, because without this year I couldn't do it without him. So thank you very much.
And second position goes to Ben Luxton. Ben, great to see you back up here on the podium again, and a good battle with you and Dave. How was it out there on the track?
Yeah, it was really windy, but I had a great battle, yeah. Yesterday I was struggling to keep up with Dave, but I managed to get a good start and stick with him.
A good result. Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, Stephen Cowan, Systematic Instruments, Dave at High Fibre, Damien Decomed, John Mateem, JDF, everyone else helped me out, cheers.
Winner and champion David Allingham. Dave, you were battling with Ben, but you're still bringing it out on top all year.
Yeah, happy enough. A little bit windy in that race, so I could feel him slipstream me on down the back straight. I had a crash this morning in warm-up, which I'd just like to thank Ian and Dave and my dad and Rory for they've done a great job getting the bike set up again. Yeah, Ben was riding really well. I was just managed to hold him off to the end, so I'm happy with that.
A good race. Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, thank B-More, EHA Group, Soaklane, Bridgestone, Ian Newton, Dad, my mechanic Rui Grimes, Gail, Gareth, Karen, and yeah, Mary and Martin as well for coming this weekend, so thank you.
Well, don't go anywhere, folks. Coming up after the break, it's the final Dunlop Aprilia Super Teen race of 2013. Last race of the season then for riders aged 12 to 18, the Aprilia Super Teen Championship, and if we get anything as exciting as race 1, I will be very happy indeed. I'm pleased to report that the circuit has dried out, although it is a bit windy, and so this young man, Charlie Nesbitt, looking for that first race win, so close earlier, wasn't he? They're all on dry tyres. Curtis Drew there, he was hoping it would stay dry, it has. And then on pole position is Zach Corduroy, the champion, number 22. Now, with it being dry, you have to think that Zach Corduroy here might just have a decent chance of getting a good race result. Or are his thoughts already on the 2014 season in the 450 Championship? Once again, I need not remind you to look out for Rory Skinner, number 11, on the back of that wonderful win. He was referring, Spud, by the way, in the interview, he's referring to Charlie Nesbitt. That is what he is known as, just in case you're wondering. But here they go, heading down into turn 1. It's another good start from 101, Curtis Drew, and he will take the whole shot ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. It is Zach Corduroy, yellow and black leathers with the lime green wheels, the champion of 2013, that takes third place. Can't quite see who's up into fourth just yet. I think that's Joe Thompson, number 74, who's got a really good start there. Joe Thompson up into fourth place. Joe, who sponsored by Teesdale Motorcycles, had a fabulous round back at Anglesey a few rounds ago. And nice to see him fighting it out at the sharp end. Few riders, of course, not here, not as we mentioned. Oh, blimey, that was a bit harsh. Oh, Curtis Drew and Zach Corduroy there coming together. Zach Corduroy going straight on into the gravel. Oh, that's a nightmare scenario for Corduroy, and he is going to rejoin. He doesn't fall. I think Curtis looked like he was trying to make an apology there. That was a bit messy. Effectively, it was Curtis Drew's fault, but Curtis was losing the front end, and it wasn't malicious, certainly no intent, so just a racing incident, but Zach's got it all to do from the back of the grid now. Curtis Drew it is that leads, nonetheless, ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. Joe Thompson is up there. Rory Skinner is up there also. There he is, number 11. And we can't forget the likes of Aaron Clifford and Jordan Boyle also. We heard in the interview from Charlie that he said it was a shame Ross couldn't be out. He's referring, of course, to Ross Simpson, who got himself injured here yesterday and cannot ride and be a part of the proceedings. That's a shame for Ross, because it's looking like he might slip out of the top 3 overall. Bradley Peary not here at all. So Charlie Nesbitt, if he can win this, and he's in first place at the moment, then he will take second place in the championship. If he finishes second in this race, Charlie, he will lose out to Peary by 1 point. Fine margins here in the last race of 2013. Here they go, the Super Teens down through Craner curves. I can tell you that despite the fact that Zach Corduroy was pushed down to last place overall, he's already up inside the points. So he's making decent progress, is Zach, the champion. So the final time he'll probably ever sling his leg over a 125cc Aprilia, he's got some fun on his hands, because he's got to make a charge from the back of the grid. He will have an awful lot of work to try and catch the top 5 or 6, because they're already breaking away from the chasing pack that includes Jordan Boyle, Edmund Best, Georgina Polden, who has got out despite that injury to her leg after their high side moment out of Melbourne Loop in race 1. This is the battle for third place, and it's between Rory Skinner and Joe Thompson. This is your race leader, Charlie Nesbitt, ahead of Curtis Drew. Both of these young riders got the same sponsorship on the side, Minimoto Racing. They both run from the same garage, so they're good friends off circuit. Both, of course, looking for a race win here in race 2. Curtis Drew, who has not won a race since the start of the season, pretty much, and Charlie, as we've mentioned a few times already, yet to win a race all season, and that really is, I can't emphasise enough how remarkable that is, when he has been up in the the top 3 or 4 for pretty much every race of the season. He is a great talent, Charlie Nesbitt. I've got to say, I'm quietly hoping that Charlie Nesbitt stays in the Super Teens for another season. I think it would be great for his racecraft, and I'd really like to see both him and Rory Skinner fighting it out for the championship, if I'm honest. I think they'd both learn an awful lot from it. But who knows what's going to happen next year. One thing I am astonished about is the fact that Rory Skinner's struggling for sponsorship for 2014 just to come from Scotland to race in this championship. It's the sad fact of motorcycle racing. It is expensive, and well, if there are any sponsors watching, you know, there'd be worse investments than that, let me tell you. Rory Skinner is looking pretty special. If you think back to 2000, Casey Stoner, when he won the championship, it only took him 7 years to go from Super Teen champion to the MotoGP champion of the world. I'm not suggesting that the likes of Nesbitt or Skinner could do the same, but they've certainly got potential. It's just really about how far they can take their talent, what decisions they make, but along the way you need a bit of luck and you do need money. It is 74 there, Joe Thompson, who's having a good race here. Great riding style, Joe Thompson, really aggressive, chin on the deck. Great to see. These guys just struggling a bit to catch Curtis Drew and Charlie Nesbitt. This is the battle for third place, and as each lap goes by, they're about a second slower than Drew and Nesbitt and Drew. There they are, 86 Nesbitt, Curtis Drew 101. Then that gap back to 74 Joe Thompson. And see there, 11 Rory Skinner, 19 Aaron Clifford, and Jordan Boyle, number 37. Nice to see Jordan's made some decent improvements. And likewise, another rider there, Jordan Boyle, that would definitely benefit from another year in the Super Teens. This is his newcomer year, first year of the championship. He's now learnt all the circuits. What a way to go into next year with all of that experience and try and win the championship. Zach Corduroy update, having started last, he's now up inside the top 10. He's got himself past Kai Masters and is currently tracking down the likes of Georgina Polden and Ed Best to try and get himself up into the top 7. That's really good going from Zach. He's not going to be able to catch the top 5 or 6, I don't think. Stranger things have happened in the Super Teens over the years. But pleased to say that the Thundersport GB calendar is out, provisional albeit, and we will be starting the 2014 season out at Brands Hatch, March 7th, 8th and 9th in 2014, and we'll be continuing to show all of the action here on Motors TV. In fact, some extended hours for the likes of the Super Teens and the 450s, so good news for that. Unfortunately, the bad news is that we've got to wait a few months until the start of the new season. I cannot believe we are already into October as we go into the final turn here, and Charlie Nesbitt, you know, he's making it hard work for himself. He got such a great start pulling away from Curtis Drew, but it's almost as if the nerves are just coming in here. He realises his first win is just a few laps away, and Curtis Drew is just keeping check on things. That was a good fast lap there from Curtis Drew at 55.4. And so a couple of tenths faster than Nesbitt, and if Nesbitt isn't aware of the company that he's got, he will be in a moment as they go through Craner curves. Wonderful part of the circuit, and then down into the old hairpin. Important to get some good drive out of this right-hander that leads you under the bridge, slightly uphill now, and then left around Schwantz curve, flat out on a Super Team bike, and then up towards McLean's. A good overtaking opportunity. Another one coming up into Coppice, although you have to get it right into Coppice. It is a blind entry point. You can't see the tipping point until you're into the corner, so you have to know where you're going. And onto the back straight here. Curtis Drew now getting into the slipstream of number 86, Charlie Nesbitt, and already pulling out of the slipstream. He's got the inside line as they come under the invisible Dunlop Bridge and into the foggy S's, and Curtis Drew has taken the advantage and he goes into the lead of the race. Charlie Nesbitt immediately fighting back with some good drive out of the foggy S's, and on the brakes they're side by side into the Melbourne Loop, and that was nice and neatly done by Charlie. He retakes the lead. So the battle is on between Nesbitt and Drew this time for the second race win. In the wet, it was between Nesbitt and Skinner, and Nesbitt lost out. In the dry, it's between Nesbitt and Drew. but it's looking good for Nesbitt. He's leading at the most critical point of the circuit, and that is when you cross the line. Not long to go here for these guys. You can see that they've got about 7-8 seconds, maybe a bit more, over the battle for third at the moment. Rory Skinner there, number 11, is on for another podium, but Joe Thompson is following his every move. Look at that. That's an old trick of the trade, that, from the super teams, using the exits of the pit lane so that they can fan out and get the best line possible and carry as much speed into turn 1. Red Gate corner. I remember a certain Wayne Ryan doing that, and Lee Jackson, back in the 2009 season. And it's stuck from there ever since. Oh, we've got a faller. Someone has gone down. Can't quite pick up who that is at the moment. But, that's a shame there. We lost Leanne Hunt on the opening lap. Chris Gray went missing, as well as Tristan Finocchiaro, the birthday boy. I just wonder if that was Daniel Booth, perhaps. Not sure, because Booth hasn't come around on our time screens. Either way, back to the front we go. The leaders here, Charlie Nesbitt, number 86, and Curtis Drew. And Charlie Nesbitt there weaving a bit, just trying to prevent Curtis Drew from coming past. Has it worked? On this occasion, it has. Drew settles back into second place and relies on some decent drive out of the Foggy S's down towards the Melbourne Loop, and he's got the drive and he's done the job up underneath Drew on the brakes into the Melbourne Loop. Probably one of the best overtaking places in the country, the Melbourne Loop. There's not a lot of people that are fans of it, but as they come into the final turn here, Curtis Drew, has he made the move when it matters? As they come onto the start-finish straight, Drew it is that has the lead ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. Down into Redgate, they've extended that gap back to second to 9 seconds now between Skinner and Thompson, still fighting it out for third. Nesbitt has got to find a way through here. He's got to find a way of not just getting past Curtis Drew, but staying past him, because Drew seems to be quite strong, certainly when they exit Coppice and head down the back straight. Down through the Craner curves. Oh, Nesbitt almost got pushed off circuit there. That's there's not a lot he could do about it. Drew didn't know he was there, but that has just cost Charlie Nesbitt a couple of tenths, and that could be crucial. Drew isn't aware of it. He's just got it the throttle pinned as they head around McLean's and up towards Coppice Corner here at the moment. This race is going in favour of Curtis Drew. Charlie Nesbitt has just got to put the next 4 or 5 corners together absolutely perfect. Drew has got a good lead here. This might be enough to win it. Charlie Nesbitt has only got the Melbourne Loop and Goddard's the final turn to do anything about this. And as they go into the Foggy S's, Nesbitt carrying lots of corner speed through, and then out side by side, Drew takes a defensive line. He's going to make Nesbitt go the long way round, but Nesbitt says no, I'll carry the corner speed, and they're going to have to go for it in the last corner. Drew it is that has the advantage. He'll surely take a defensive line and make Nesbitt go around the outside. He does, and it's going to be Drew by the looks of things, all barring any mistakes, and Nesbitt's going to miss out on that win. Across the line they come. Oh, it's so close here. Across the line, and Drew gets it by 1/10 of a second ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. Nesbitt, oh, there's not a lot you can say about this. Third place goes to Joe Thompson. That's a good third for him. Charlie Nesbitt, the poor lad, he's missed out on winning a race this season, and crucially and agonisingly, he's missed out on second in the championship by a single point. Well, that is a shame for him, but he's been a great competitor this season. But it's a fine win there from Curtis Drew, number 101. He takes the win in the final race of the season ahead of Nesbitt. Thompson third ahead of Skinner. Clifford fifth. Jordan Boyle sixth. Zach Corroy in the end managed to finish in 7th place. A good effort there from the champion. Ed Best 8th. Georgina Polden recovers to 9th place, and in 10th was Kai Masters. And this is the championship. 200 points Zach won it by in the end, and confirmation there of Nesbitt losing out on second by just a single point. Bradley Peary taking second. Unfortunately for Ross Simpson, he misses out due to that injury. Curtis Drew 5th, and it's Clifford, Thompson, Boyle, Keynes and Ed Best 10th overall for 2013. Catch up with the newcomers first, and in 3rd place it was Jordan Boyle.
third position goes to Jordan Boyle. Only just Jordan, that was a close race out there.
Yeah, it was a really close race. I'm happy with third. It's a good way to end the season.
A really good result. Any sponsors to thank?
I thank Artel Copiers, my dad, my mum, my brother, Paul, Fun Sport and Union.
And second position in the Nitro Newcomers, Rory. A brilliant weekend for you here. First time on the bike and first time at Donington. You must be loving it.
Yeah, it was a really good weekend. Thundersport ran a really good meeting. I had a good race there with Joe, battling all through the race. So it was a good race.
A good race. Any sponsors to thank?
I'd like to thank Ian Newton for lending me the bike, Steve Hammond, my dad, Phil and Bill and Thundersport for running a great meeting.
Well done to you, Rory. Let's catch up with the top 3 overall, and starting off with third place man Joe Thompson.
And third position overall in the Super Teens, Joe. A good race for you as well. It's tough out there in this class, don't you think?
Yeah, it was a really hard race battling with Rory. The wind was blowing you all over coming down the back straight, but we've had a pretty bad weekend where I had a big crash on Friday practice, and it's just a good way to finish the weekend.
Definitely. Any sponsors to thank?
Yeah, I would just like to say a big thanks to my dad because he's given me a really good bike. I would like to thank Teesdale Motorcycles, Thompson's Fish Restaurants, Ange, Georgina, my mum and everyone else that's helped out. Thanks very much.
And second position overall, but first in the newcomers, Charlie Nesbitt. Charlie, I'm gutted that you couldn't get a win overall this year, but you must have enjoyed this year as a whole.
Oh yeah, it's just an amazing season. Just been amazing. Well done to Kurt and hope, yeah.
And we hope to see you back on the 125 next year.
Like I said, we sold the bike. We're going BSB next year, so.
Well, good luck with that. Any sponsors you'd like to thank for this year?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my sponsors and my mum and my dad. All that.
And first position overall goes to Curtis Drew. Curtis, you must be over the moon judging by that smile on your face. You were leading that for a good way. You must be chuffed.
Yeah, I'm chuffed to bits. I mean, what a way to end the year. Everybody that's helped out, it's just been amazing. I mean, second win of the year now, I'm just buzzing.
Definitely. And who have you got to thank?
I'd like to thank my mum and dad, most importantly, and my sister, John and Sandy, who we'll be working a bit more with next year, sponsors, Mini Motor Racing, Jesse's Bistro, Beam Electrical, and Prestige Paintwork. Okay, I think it's just going to be good next year now.
Definitely. We hope to see you there. Thank you.
Well done to you, Curtis. A fine way to end the 2013 season. Join us again after the break for the last 450 race of 2013. Here we go then. The last Aprilia Challenge race of the season. The 450s come to the grid. Champion David Allingham on pole alongside Ben Luxton and Louis Dawson there, number 34. In race 1, Allingham got it from Luxton. Can we see a reverse of the results? Ross Twyman managed to finish in third place to secure second overall. Can they close up and get themselves in the mix? Well, we're about to find out. Ben Luxton there, of course, sponsored by JDF. John Davis, who has taken under a number of riders under his wing over the last few years to success. But it's the Be-More Aprilia of David Allingham that has been the unstoppable force of this season. He will look to end this race on a high. The lights are out. They head off down the start-finish straight and into turn 1, Redgate corner, and it's a good start from Allingham. He takes the whole shot ahead of Ben Luxton as they head around Redgate, then into Hollywood, dipping down into Craner Curves. Perfect start there from David Allingham. And Luxton there slotting nicely into second place. Good start also from Alex Baker, number 22, really got off the line very well indeed. Ross Twyman's up there, you can always spot Ross. Black leathers, white helmet. But it's Allingham that leads from Ben Luxton. Louis Dawson now has got himself up into third place. Aprilia rider sponsored by Ducati Wolverhampton. Ross Twyman now up into fourth place. Will Hodgson's up in the top 8. Wilford, Reece Hutchinson. And as they head down the back straight and into the foggy S's, It's still Allingham, Luxton and Twyman, your top three. Dawson in 4th place. Just trying to spot there Reece Hutchinson, number 48. Couldn't get a glimpse of him. Wonder if there's been a problem there for Reece, who's been in impressive form all weekend, and he's not in the top 5, which is where he's been for most of it. So I wonder if we've lost Reece Hutchinson. That'd be a shame. On to the start, finish straight to complete lap 1. That's, well, if you're watching at home and you want to know how to execute the perfect first lap from pole position, look no further. David Allingham there, still leading, ahead of Ben Luxton and Ross Twyman. There is Ben, number 9, rider from Stockport, as I mentioned, a JDF banner, and he is racing in this championship again next year. Good move, I feel, for Ben, because he really came on song halfway through the season, and had he have been racing the way he is now from the start, who knows what might have happened. He would have still had a bit on his plate to prevent Allingham from winning this championship. In fact, most would, because as we go into this race, David Allingham has something along the lines of a 250-odd point lead in the championship, which is just phenomenal, really, when you consider how close some of these races have been this year. The most important thing is his consistency. The Irishman has not fallen in any of the races. He's not had a DNF, whereas all of his competitors and rivals have. And as they head down the back straight, he's just putting a gap on Ben Luxton at the moment. He's put in the fastest lap of the race. This is the fight for 3rd. 15 is Ross Twyman. 34 there is Louis Dawson. Further back, 22 is Alex Baker. 35 is Sam Wilford. 14, Will Hodgson. 36, Dean Court. 88, Lucas Backstrom. 58, Cameron Lee. 96, Connor Wheeler. There is Wilford, just up ahead there of Alex Baker, who must have made some sort of mistake, as he was up a bit further than that a moment ago. Across the line we go to complete another lap. It's Allingham still from Luxton, and just like race 1, they're edging away from the battle for 3rd that includes there Ross Twyman, Dawson, Wilford, and now Baker. George Stanley is making excellent progress, also number 5. A rider who moved on to the 450s this year and has just been learning as we go along. A rider that makes improvement in baby steps, not necessarily gung-ho. He doesn't just pin it and waits to see what happens. He gradually makes, he's a bit like a Bradley Smith, I suppose. But the thing is with that sort of improvement is that as time goes on, once you do get up to a very decent level, it's difficult to ever push them down and out of it. So George Stanley here, a good end to the season for George, a likeable character from Stapleton on the BWSR Aprilia. It's still Allingham from Luxton, Twyman, Dawson, Baker, and Wilford, number 35. Wilford got himself a really good start earlier. Rider who comes all the way from Dortmund each weekend to race on the IDWE Aprilia. There is Baker, 22. Red Blade Racing. Aprilia, rider from Ormskirk. Across the line, Allingham still has it, but that was a good lap from Ben Luxton. It's a 41.787, and Luxton has taken a lap record again. A really good lap there from Ben Luxton, and well, the fastest we've ever seen on a 450. So Ben Luxton, even if he's not able to get past number 11 here, David Allingham, he will take the lap record by the looks of things, unless David can respond. Number 11, they are the sort of things that will actually grate at David. I've got to say, of course he loves to win races, he's the champion, but all of these riders like a little record or something, just so their name is still in the books. And this time next year, when we arrive at Donington Park GP circuit, at the moment Ben Luxton's name will be in the programme as the class lap record holder in the Aprilia RRV 450 GP Challenge. Looking like being an interesting season in the 450s next year. Of course, Allingham moving on, so is Twyman, 1st and 2nd, but Luxton stays put. And then, of course, we've got the Aprilia Super Team champion that we saw a moment ago in the race before the break, Zach Corduroy, a number of other Super Teams moving on to 450s as well. So, no real idea as to who's going to come out on top, but Ben Luxton certainly looking to me like the pre-season favourite when we get going in March at Brands Hatch. Across the line to complete another lap. These two now are not going to get caught by the rest. It's Allingham and Luxton first and second. Twyman in third has broken away now from Louis Dawson. And it's George Stanley who's got himself ahead of Alex Baker. We said he was having a good time of it, and George Stanley here trying to make a push and get himself up into the top 5 overall. That'd be a really good finish from George if he's able to do that. Currently lapping in the 43s, which is the same story for everyone from 3rd to about 8th or 9th. The leaders doing 41s, late 41s. Allingham put in a really good lap there. In fact, Allingham put in a lap to break the lap record, but Luxton went one better, just a 10th better, in fact. But the simple statistics are that Allingham leads, and Luxton's got to try and find a way past. As they head onto the back straight once more. This is the battle for 3rd. The leaders are already through. So there's 15 at the bottom of your screen, Ross Twyman, 34. The green and red helmet is Louis Dawson, and then there's George Stanley, who's gone through, number 5, ahead of Alex Baker, number 22. Down towards the Melbourne Loop. Every single one of these riders, with the exception of Lucas Backstrom and Will Hodgson, have come through the Super Teens. Will, of course, is the most experienced rider in the field and has had some decent fun this year. I remember particularly at Snetterton, he looked very, very strong, fighting with David Allingham, trying to get the win. That's Ross Twyman, number 15, through into Redgate. This is the battle for 4th. So George Stanley, having got up into 5th place, is now pushing Louis Dawson for 4th, and that would be George's best result of the season, I think. I'm right in saying that. Really looking strong here is George. And pushing right to the end. Allingham still has the lead, albeit by a couple of tenths of a second ahead of Ben Luxton. Luxton still with a lap record. I've got to say that for the 450 race, this has been surprisingly unentertaining. We're usually used to seeing 8 or 9 bikes in a row fighting away. This is a bit different from the usual. I'm sure we'll be back to our best at the start of 2014, but such is the talent of Allingham and Luxton this weekend. They've been able to rip-roar away from the rest of the field. Luxton is still second, Twyman in third. This is the battle then for 4th place, and now Alex Baker goes up into 4th place, ahead of George Stanley. Now down into the Melbourne Loop. Stanley moves up into 4th spot, so George Stanley really enjoying himself out here. Last year's Riders' Rider of the Year in the Aprilia Super Team Championship, and the last lap flag is out. Allingham leads from Ben Luxton. That would be worth keeping an eye on, because Luxton's going to try and mount a challenge on this final lap. A lonely 3rd for Ross Twyman, 4th place at the moment for George Stanley. Then it's Alex Baker, number 22, and Louis Dawson, 34. There's a rumour spreading that they will be joined, these machines, by Moto 3s and GP 125s in 2014, which will allow, I'm sure, a number of British Championship entries into the series. It will bolster the grid. It'll be interesting to see how they get on against these bikes. So there is a good chance that the Moto 3 machines and the GP 125s will be out there in this field next season. But for now, they don't need to worry about it. Allingham has the lead, Luxton second. Luxton desperately trying to get himself this win here, but Allingham's not making a mistake. They exit Coppice, head down the back straight. Twyman guaranteed 3rd. George Stanley still doing all he can to hold on to that 4th place. He deserves more from that ride. It's been a good, impressive ride so far from Stanley. Good battle for 4th between himself, Alex Baker and Louis Dawson. It looks like this race, though, is going to David Allingham, the champion, unless Ben Luxton can do something here into this final turn. Luxton's going to take the wide line and try and outdrive him. but it's a short stretch to the start-finish straight, and Allingham has not put a foot wrong. It'll be close between them across the line, but it is going to be David Allingham. The champion wins the final race of the year ahead of Ben Luxton. A good race there from Luxton, who takes the lap record. They've then got an 8-second gap back to Ross Twyman, who ends the season as runner-up. And then we have to just wait a few seconds for George Stanley and the likes to go past the line, and it is George Stanley that's taken 4th place. A good result there for George. Baker 5th, Dawson 6th ahead of Will Hodgson, Sam Wilford, Dean Court and our Swedish visitor Lucas Backstrom. Now, if we take a look at the overall points at the end of 2013, look at the state of that. Allingham, 284 points. He won the title by, ahead of Ross Twyman. Ben Luxton takes 3rd. Will Hodgson sneaks into 4th, ahead of Bradley Jones, who unfortunately couldn't race. Dawson 6th, then it's Baker, Lewis Rollo, Harry Coomber and Dean Court. Let's catch up with the top 3 then for the final time, and they're the top 3 in the championship also. Twyman, Luxton and Allingham.
3rd position, Ross Twyman. A brilliant result for a good year for you, a steady year. What's been your highlight of the year?
I don't know really. Well, all of the whole year has been so good. Like, I'll be sad to miss it, but what a great way to end it. And especially with these boys on the boat, everyone just, thank you very much for making this year so good.
And where can we expect to see you next year?
I'll be here next year. I'll be hopefully on a 600, depending. So.
Well, good luck for next year. What sponsors have you got to thank for your season?
I'd like to thank Brinkman Engineering, obviously my dad, because I wouldn't be here without him at all. So thanks to him. The usual, Jim Brazier, Agri, everyone. Thank you very much.
2nd position, Ben Luxton. Ben, and again, brilliant way to end the season for you, especially towards the end. Your year's really picking up, so a good result for you.
Yeah, the last year of the season's been really good. Yeah, been a great year. I've enjoyed it with everyone. All the riders are amazing to ride with. Yeah, it's been great.
Well, good luck for next year. Any sponsors to thank?
Stephen Carter Systematic Instruments, Damien Decomed, David High Fiber, Mum, Dad, John Davis, everyone for helping me out. Cheers.
And 1st position and champion. What a way to end the year with a 1st position, Dave. How do you feel right now?
Yeah, I feel great. It's been such a good year. It's Ben and everybody's been so good to race with. Ross, Bradley, Louis, and everybody's just been so great to race with, and Wall as well. And it's just kind of been the perfect year this year. Got 3 championships, and just like to give a massive thank you to everybody that's helped me. My dad, Gio, for putting everything under me, and EHA Group, Beemore, Southline, Bridgestone, Ian Newton, Myra, everybody, thank you.
Well, a massive thanks to all of you for viewing in 2013. From all of us here at Thundersport GB, join us again in 2014.